Okay, so this is the third video on learning logs and making them electronic and getting a lot of data and being able to manipulate it. So that's what we're going to start doing now is manipulating the data. So in the last video, I showed you how to set up a spreadsheet from that form that you created in Google. And I put some information in here so that we can see what happens to it and manipulate things a little bit. So on this questions tab that we have down at the bottom, what I want to do is see who submitted a question and what their question was, just for today. I don't want to worry about what their book was or what the goal was. I just want to quickly go through and say, any questions? What are the questions? What did I not make clear to the students? So on the questions tab here, right now, it is not quite happy with me because I don't have the right words in there. But what you will do is you will copy this exactly, this query. There's an equal and a query and then some parentheses and this. So I'll tell you what each part is so you can change it as you want to. So the error right now is that I don't have an all info sheet. I have form responses 1. So just before that exclamation point, the exclamation point says that's one of the sheets, but I'm going to write form responses 1. Hopefully, well, we still have an error here. So we have form responses 1 down here as the sheet name. I want it to pull columns A through E from this sheet, A through E. If you have more questions, more things they had to fill in, you might do A through H, or you might do A through Z if you have that many questions. But I want it to grab the information from that sheet, columns A through E. Then I want it to select column B. Column B is the email address. That way I know which student had which question. And I want column A, the date, to be after today's date. So this is where the date is after, and that's the bigger than sign, 9/13. The only trick with this is for me to see tomorrow's questions for 9/14, I'm going to have to go into this sheet and change that 14 to a 14. Now, because it doesn't seem happy with my sheet name right now, I am wondering, let's see if I can just underscore these. And if I can't underscore them, I'm going to have to go in and change the name of the sheet. Let's see if it is not happy with that sheet name. So I'm just going to rename this sheet here and name it all. And then when I go to the questions, I should be able to put in the sheet name all. There, that looks much better. So now I can see the email address of these students and where they left their book. So that's the information I'm getting. Where they left their book is column E. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I didn't want where they left their book. I wanted column D. So in the questions, I'm going to change this E to, don't give me an E. I want to know D, column D, questions. So now I'm seeing the questions. When I look at all the information here, I see that some are done on the 14th and some were done on the 15th. So this is showing us everything after the 13th, which is everything, all the questions. Let's pretend right now it's September 14th. So I'll put that into my formula up here, and now we get just the questions that were asked after the 14th. So they're not sure what a primary source is, they don't know where all the information goes, and they're having trouble finding their topic. So whatever date you put in here, it will pull the days after that. So that's how I can get all of the student responses that come into this sheet, on the all sheet. I can get them just into the questions. I just want to see questions, and I just want to see them from today. And that's what I'm getting on the question sheet. Now, I can do the same thing here for Jocelyn. So I'm going to go in and change the name of my sheet to all so that it picks up from that first sheet, the all sheet. And I want to see everything that the student put in. So I'm going to see columns A, B, C, D, and E. If you don't want that individual student to have all their information, you don't want them to see one of those columns, you could actually put in there A, B, D, E. If you have more columns, you're going to have to put in F, G, H, I, etc. And when they give me all those columns, I just want the column, actually I put in Joe's name here, didn't I? Where B, so on that first sheet, where B equals Joseph Totola. So I go in here and it says, there's the address that was submitted. So this right now has only the responses from Joe. If I made another sheet for myself, I could go in here and now any responses from Jocelyn will come into the Jocelyn tab. So what I have been doing is highlighting this, and then on each tab for each of my students, going in and pasting that into that first 1A column, and then changing the name. So changing that to Joe, or changing it to whoever the next student is. Whatever student name is on that tab, you should put that into their response area. So that's how you get the information from the students when they submit it every day. You will end up having a huge sheet here with all that information. And you can narrow it down to seeing just the questions for today. And then you can narrow it down to seeing just the responses from one student for all days. So here, Jocelyn has entered things for 3 days in a row. Okay, so that's the third video. The last video you're going to see, and I will be making that shortly, will be how does Jocelyn see what she has responded with and no other sheets. It's not very smooth to do, but it's possible. So that's what we're going to look at in the next video, is how you can share just Jocelyn's sheet or just Joe's sheet with just Joe. One sheet for one student.